Hey everybody, happy Valentine's Day. And in that spirit, I'm bringing you day 3 of the testimony in the case of Zachary Hughes, who's on trial in South Carolina for the murder of Christina Purcell. And you are, if you're confused, trust me, so is the jury. Stay tuned. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Yeah, Valentine's Day. I'm wearing my kitty fishy shirt. So, day 3, full testimony in this Zachary Hughes case. I'm telling you what, I know some of you are confused, and I guarantee you, especially after yesterday, the jury is like, what? Keep in mind, they are not allowed to take notes. And I got to tell you, if I hadn't taken notes yesterday, I would be super confused because yesterday there were, I can't even count, 5, 6, 7, 8 different investigators on the stand giving testimony about cell phone extraction. Usually you'll just have one, maybe 2. This one we've got, I don't know why there were so many people with their hands in the pot here, but there were, and each person had a different, it was just weird. I'm going to try to get through it and keep it interesting as I do, which is going to be difficult because it was a boring day. It was very boring. So it starts out with an investigator who first met with Bradley Post, the boyfriend of Christina Mello. He met with Brad Post and Christina Mello in 2018. Now, we never knew what were they meeting with him for in 2018. What happened in 2018 that they had to meet with this guy? We don't know. But in 2021, he meets with them where they turn over 6 envelopes to him. And at this meeting is a postal inspector. Now, we're going to hear from the postal inspector next. I'm going to kind of combine the testimony. So they meet with them. In these envelopes are black and white nude photos of Christina Purcell. And she explains that John Mello is the one that's in possession of those photos. So when you open the envelope, you'll see in some of them she's partially nude. In one, she's on all fours. She's looking behind her, And in another one, she's nude, and there's some male anatomy that you can see. So also in the envelope is a screenshot of an escort service called Caroline Warren. And in that ad, it says limited availability. And then there's a website URL at the bottom. Now, this witness checked the website. It's not in business anymore. Whatever that was, it doesn't exist anymore. There's nothing at that URL. So in some of the envelopes, one of these was sent to the Guardian ad litem. One was sent to Brad Post. Some of the neighbors got these. So they had 2 different postmarks. This is where the postal inspector comes in. And the postmarks mean that's where, they went through that postal center at some point after mailing. So a couple of them were postmarked from Tennessee, and the others were postmarked from Greenville, South Carolina. So we're going to learn later on during the day, because we got to get through all these different people who are going to tell us different parts of the story, that they did location data. They got cell phone location data, and they confirmed that Zach Hughes was in Tennessee during the time those postmarks from Tennessee came through. And then he was in Greenville when the Greenville postmarks came through. So I just gave you that in a nutshell. So what else about that? Yeah. Oh, there was also in the envelopes lists of addresses with some of them checked off. And so this detective was asked, well, what would that mean to you? He goes, it would mean to me that they were mailing these photos to all these addresses, and this is who they've done so far. And amongst those addresses was Daddy's Cigar Bar, Christina Purcell's dad's cigar bar. Okay. So The reason the postal inspector was involved, he said, was to see if there was enough evidence to bring federal charges. But I don't think federal charges were ever brought. Nobody asked him, did you bring federal charges? So I don't know. The jury doesn't know. Nobody knows. Anyway, then we get the lead detective. This Matt Wolf. He's been on and off the stand like 3-4 times. So he's back on the stand. So he gets, his next step in the investigation is he gets search warrants for Zach Hughes and John Mello's emails. Zach Hughes' emails, over 23,000 emails. And between Zach Hughes and John Mello, hundreds of emails that he's got to go through. Now, some of those were on an app called Proton Mail. Now, Proton Mail is based out of Switzerland, where the privacy laws are different. And what they do is with Proton Mail is they don't ask you for any information when you sign up, and they guarantee you that they're never going to reveal who you are or anything like that. And they don't respond to subpoenas. So they were using this. I'm learning all these new places to email and talk securely. Anyway, so there was an email that he found interesting, the investigator, that was dated March 16th of 2021. Now, this email was forwarded to Zach Hughes from John Mello, but forwarded from this private investigator company called Mullen Investigation. There was no records of any Mullen investigation in this case. They couldn't. If you are a private investigator firm, you have to sign up with the state, and this company never signed up with the state of South Carolina. I don't know why my phone's going off. Anyway, so then they did a search warrant for the cell phone location data, because now we want to see, where was Zach during all this time, right? So he talks about John Mello being arrested when he returned to the United States after the murder. For custodial interference. And at that time, no cell phone on him. Didn't have a cell phone on him. Interesting. So we don't have extractions of John Mello's cell phone. Just Zachary Hughes. Then we get a guy from the intelligence unit who does electronics. He puts this thing through. He puts Zach Hughes' phone through the Cellbrite app. We hear about Cellbrite all the time. So this guy talks about how it took, his cell phone was locked. There was a lot of litigation about this because he wouldn't give the passcode to get into that cell phone. So what they had to do was a brute force extraction that took 2 years to get everything they needed out of this phone. He also did an extraction of Christina Parcells' phone. He did an extraction of Bradley Post's phone. That's interesting. And he said, by far, WhatsApp was the preferred method of communication between Zachary Hughes and John Mello. There were over 1,000 encrypted messages, many of which had been deleted. Now, they were able to bring those deleted messages back, but when they come back, they're scrambled. So it's up to you to unscramble them. Yeah. And it's just weird. I don't even go. This jury was like, what is going on here? In any case, the WhatsApp messages, interestingly enough, started on October 7th of 2020, right around the time John takes off to Italy with his daughter. And they continue over the next year until October 13th of 2021, the day of the murder. That's the last WhatsApp message. Then he was asked in October 2021, after the murder, when you extracted Bradley Post's cell phone information, did you take that information to the Greenville, South Carolina Sheriff's Office? And he's like, well, then there's this huge objection, because we know what they found on that phone were those explicit images of Brad Post and this child and the other child and Christina participating, and yeah, which is the judge has ruled none of that's coming in. But after the sidebar comes back, he overruled the objection. He let him answer the question. He said, yes, he says, no, I did not take it to the sheriff's office, but somebody else did. Now the jury's going, what? Why did you take Brad Post's stuff to the sheriff's office? Why? Now we've seen him in an orange jumpsuit. Why? What was on that phone? Because these are smart people, I'm sure. What was on the phone? So, if I hadn't said so already, Zach's phone was in the locations where the envelopes were postmarked from. So, but then they went through this whole thing about the day of the murder. The night before the murder, there's a WhatsApp telephone call between Zach and John that lasts almost 2 hours. Then the day of the murder, at 4:30 a.m., Zach plugs in his phone. He unlocks his phone 3 hours later, about 7 o'clock in the morning. And then he accessed ExpressVPN, which is where you want your IP address to stay unknown. And then from 7:42 till 11:34, when the window of when this murder occurred, his device is plugged in. So did he not take that phone with him? I don't know. So there's no, and then, your phone will also record your activity, like your steps, things. There's no steps on the phone during his murder time. So he didn't have that phone on him. But then at 11:48, you start seeing the steps that he's taking. So now he's got the phone again. And it's clear that he goes back to the mountain house at 1:17 p.m. He connects to the Wi-Fi at this mountain house. So what I told you about yesterday, that's in the middle of the forest, and you can run around naked and nobody will notice. It's just in the middle of nowhere. So he's back there, and at 3:50 p.m. he calls John again via WhatsApp, and they talk for an hour and 20 minutes. I will also tell you that for the most part of that day, Zach's phone was in airplane mode. He takes it out of airplane mode around 2 in the afternoon. So that night, there's phone calls back and forth between him and John, several different phone calls. Next day, same thing, several phone calls between Zach and John. And what it looks like, there's also phone calls that Zach makes to law offices. And from what I understand, we're going to learn that he was tasked with trying to find trying to find John a lawyer, because now Christina's murdered. He's got to come back to the U.S. to get his daughter, and he knows he's going to be arrested when he gets back. Now, through another investigator, we learned that there were emails where John Mello sends the nude photos of Christina Parcell to Zach Hughes. We also learned that Zach actually went over to Italy in May of 2021. There is a video of a FaceTime between John Mello and his daughter where Zach's in the background. Then on October 13th, there's a WhatsApp or an email that says, how did the research go? Now, this is the last communication on WhatsApp. So then there was some emails between them, thousands of emails. And it was interesting because Zachary Hughes was always copied on John Mello's emails to his family law attorney. And the family law attorney was instructed that he could share information about this case with Zach Hughes. And here's the Valentine's Day part. Apparently, there was some affection between Zach and John Mello. One would say, I love you. The other one would say, I love you too, or, that kind of thing. So, and then a lot of the emails were proof that Zach was running errands in furtherance of this custody dispute. So he was well aware of what was going on in this custody dispute. And so what did we learn from yesterday? We learned that there's more evidence against Zach Hughes that he committed this murder. We don't know why. We have no motive, except that he was friends, good friends, with John Mallow, who's the father of Christina's child. And the jury now knows something's going on with this Bradley post. What was on that phone? So are you as confused as I am? I don't know what the jury's going to do with this, because the state is expected to rest their case today. They're going to put on the medical examiner. They're going to put on the DNA evidence. We're going to learn that Zach's fingernails, that Christina's fingernails, had Zach's DNA on them. So I think Zach's going to get convicted, but we don't know why. Where was the angry heart, so to speak? And why, it's because it seems to me, just from hearing what I've heard so far, that Zach may have been unduly influenced by John Mallow. I don't know if Zach's autistic. I don't know anything about Zach. So the defense is going to put on a case. Maybe we'll learn something about Zach. Maybe we'll learn more about this relationship between Zach and John and the undue influence that John may have had over Zach, and what Zach believed was going on in this custody case, because we know that John Mallow would do anything he could to disparage Christina Purcell. What was he telling Zach to make him angry enough that he would go over and commit this murder so John could have that child? Let me know your thoughts in the in the comments, and I will have a great weekend. I'll be live on Sunday at 11 a.m. for coffee and chat and whatever you guys want to discuss. So have a great day, everybody. Take care. Happy Valentine's.